so it feels correct as it's moving. And a hope is when all these elements get together, that the thing can jump and be that thing, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Released on the 21st of September 2021, Kena Bridge of Spirits came out on PlayStation 4, 5 and Xbox. No Switch version, unfortunately. What about Stadia? Did it come out on Stadia? Very funny. The game got a bunch of awards. Best New Indie, Ember Lab got a lot of recognition for this. It was a brilliant looking video game and there's quite a lot to it. I want to explain why it's worth visiting now, how it sort of still holds up and how many parallels there are with some of its game models and other previous releases within the genre. Stuff from Nintendo, even a bit of the Souls in here, dare I say it. This is also a completely new IP, not attached to a comic, anime, nothing. This has all been built from the ground up and I like that idea. It's some independence here, creatively. Do you remember that, Western devs? I am Couch Coop, by the way. Upon first reviewing this game 4 years ago, it was its performance and quality modes that impressed me. I stuck with the quality mode back then, and I'm sticking with it now. It's impeccable. The game runs beautifully, vivid, amazing visuals with this HDR. You cannot tell if I'm in a photo mode, whether this is in-game. Does a great job of stripping all of the HUD detail off, so you've got this amazing visual, almost painting-like. That's what we're going to touch on first. How well built is this actual map? How big is it? Is it free roaming? How does it work with questing systems? Truth is, it's kind of open world and you are progressing around different villages, helping people out, getting different quests and sub-quests and dealing with mid-tier and end of section bosses. It's extremely interesting and familiar feeling. There's a large emphasis on companion allocation. You can see that I've got a bunch of little helpers a la Studio Ghibli, Spirited Away, and they will go up to objects, move things around. You can point and click almost. So there's detail with the puzzles involving these things. Some of it is quite complicated. I respect them for not going too crazy with that, and it has this sort of Akami corruption in the way of progression and sort of rescuing an area, rejuvenating it with the plant life. I think that's such an awesome idea. You get really detailed sort of miasma effect almost on some of the blocked hive sections, and being able to control your blobs in this cool slug-like mechanic is also amazing. That one will be explained in a bit more detail later on. I just want to touch on the sheer magnitude and spectacle that this map offers. Also, not too overcomplicated on the power-ups and skill tree. I'm not saying this game is dumbed down, but it's certainly stripped down in certain areas, free up loads of that casual gaming enjoyment. but there are sections in this game that are far from casual. So the little dudes are called Rot, and they can help you with combat moves as well as solving puzzles. Enemies also can be vulnerable to them, and you can send them in with a single button push. It causes them to stagger, be stunned, opens the gaps for loads of hits. The combat to this game is going to get its entire own section in this video. I just want to cover some of the puzzles and cool stuff within the world. Traversal is like totally second nature for this game. They've handled the cliff grab really well. You shimmy around ledges. There's loads of height in this map, and it takes you right around the houses at the start to sort of show you how much of this verticality flex you're going to be taking on. It also handles range brilliantly. That comes about an hour into the game, and there's just a whole set of meta behind the puzzles and fighting the enemies with that bow and arrow. And yes, you can access a Breath of the Wild bullet time upon firing that arrow. That helps with puzzles, fighting enemies, and just generally mucking around. You've also got quite a lot of secrets, ad hoc treasures, and chests knocking around that map. There's like two types of currency. There's the abundant one, which you can spend on cosmetics for your little dudes, and then there's the upgrade currency, which is as rare as rocking horse shit, and that's the one you're really looking for. So it's important that you access puzzles, chests, have a good look around, because the overhead map doesn't show you any secrets on an icon front at all. Enemy design is pretty cool as well, striking this middle ground between fearsome and sort of cute. This game will appeal to the younger generation because it's not full of guts and gore. It's quite accessible and not too frightening, but that goes out the window for a couple of the boss fights. You've got that coming up. The nearest game I can equate the opening and map style and sort of questing system to is Okami, as I mentioned before. That is a massive compliment. Also, sprinklings of Zelda Breath of the Wild in here with this great third-person arrow and melee-based combat. Throw in some of these cool puzzles and working out how to do things with a giant slug made of tiny little furry sentient creatures. All of that just appeals to me. Its playful, non-jaded innocence also becomes refreshing as a gameplay model. You'll understand this if you've just come off the back of Armored Core 6, and it's just like bang, bang, machines, explosions, hellish, grey, mechanical monsters everywhere. You get into this and it's a bit of a breath of fresh air, pun intended on Breath of the Wild. The Wind Waker dungeons. That's what some of this feels like. I think those developers blatantly took loads of that as inspiration. It also has a Horizon Zero Dawn feel with that bow combat. Really good haptic feedback as well. Actually feels like you're giving the pad too much stress and strain because of the great noise on that string tightening sound. Everything is also in the right place on that pad with the clicking of the stick for the slowdown on the aim, the dodges there on circle, and you've got a parry on L1, which we will get into. So let's look at this crazy slug mechanic in a bit more detail. Loads of areas will have flower that hasn't actually blossomed yet. You will need to do something in order to activate that slug spawn point. Once the dude jumps out, he can then go into corridors or over to an area that would appear blocked off by the corruption. What you do is you slam down and the area effect pushes the hive material away. But you do have a set amount of time to be able to control this thing. And if you go back to the flower, it regenerates. So the kind of a mini game in there, you're going as far as you can within the radius of the creature's abilities. Not explained very well. This feels like something Platinum would do. This feels like Wonderful 101, where you would control some crazy creature as a separate form next to yourself. Again, not explained very well. Something else that's also going to hit you like a ton of bricks. I never really wax lyrical about cutscenes. I'm not massive fans of them unless they're essential or it's a From game. But this is made by people who clearly understand detailed animation, great facial animation and movement. I watched all of it and the story is actually really cool. There's a huge corner turn mid-game. You are genuinely intrigued to what's happening, what's going on, what all this spirit realm is all about. We are just about to look at some combat, I do promise. It introduces it to you kind of perfectly, giving you sort of smaller fragmented enemies, challenge modes and trials to get involved with, and then it sort of ramps it up with a few harder guys, but then bang comes this huge spike wall at about 3 hours into the game, and it is a toughie. I will get to them in a second, but I just want to touch on the amazing range challenge modes and trials. Give you cosmetic rewards for your main character. That is one of the things. You will always have this stick. You will be always wearing a similar amount of attire, but there are variants on it and it's cool to unlock them. Same goes for your little helpers.
Hey there, buddy.
It does help to proactively look around the levels to upgrade the rot and your health bar, and also these circles that you'll see when a fight ensues that allows the little guys to go and interrupt or distract the enemy. It's super important. It can keep you alive, and it's also the health regen mechanic, which is done via plants within a battle arena. Again, we're coming to it. And wow, this is tight combat. This is well-made interactions. For someone who's knee-deep in Souls-likes and Souls games all the time, I can tell you that this is a brilliant feeling to have it dovetailed into such a beautiful, interactive, child-friendly video game. You've got your focus, you've got your hard and quick attacks on R1 and R2. You also got your block on L1. You've got that awesome range attack, which can be slowed down at any point. You just go mid-air. You need to focus on different enemies and shift that focus around people with shields. Honest to God, so impressed. As you can well see, I'm a bit crap at it. I'm still trying to sort of find my feet with it again because it's been 3 or 4 years since I played the game. Settling into it, the muscle memory, everything was in the right place. Just learning all the different enemy types and nuances that this game has to offer. You'll see those little gold drops on the ground. These are the things that go to that circle in the bottom left, and you have a choice. You can either send in the dudes to distract the enemy, or if you build up enough, there'll be a plant in the arena which you can extract health from. One of the stipulations for this trial is not to do that, which is really handy for the footage. Yeah, here he is. Here's your learning curve. Now let me tell you something for nothing about boss fights, particularly Souls games or just any third-person RPG. I put a video together about bullet time. I think bullet time is one of the greatest modern gaming gifts, and it's not used enough, and there's a reason for that. Horizon Zero Dawn uses it because it is truly offline. Now loads of Souls games can't and don't even indulge in the mechanic. I was really surprised that Armored Core 6 doesn't. I feel it's really empowering and dramatic and amazing, particularly when you're clanging swords or dealing with projectile weaponry. You've only got to look at Vanquish. I was treated to one of the most dramatic and amazing slowdown scenes in this fight, and I think there should be more of them in gaming. So I've gone from like shooting little blue arrows at a windmill to a one-to-one near-on Souls-like boss experience that gives you no breathing room whatsoever, and you have to really manage and make choices about whether to use that health regen or distract the guy. It was an amazing fight. I loved it, and I recommend anybody who's stepped into the game at least to get this far. So mid-game, you're dealing with some major nightmare fuel. You've got dudes that replenish everybody else. You've got massive tree bark remnant from the ashes things. You've got minions with shields. You've got a jump, nip, round, dodge, roll, fire in slow-mo. It's absolutely epic stuff. And combined with that exploration, beautiful colour and friendly-looking world, this game is just such a winner. It's also, I feel, a perfect Souls-like entry drug, right? If you've got someone who's in two minds about the Souls games, doesn't want to really commit or start playing that massive rabbit hole of stuff, get them into this, get them into the combat, and you'll be like, there's a few other titles that you might want to take a look at, Lords of the Fallen. Quick stipulation before anybody goes into the comments, the Souls-like references to the combat only and not other gameplay models or open world models. This bit, Akami has got this section where you get up to a village, the miasma or whatever it is, the rot has taken over, none of their crops are growing. So you get to take over one of those huge blob slugs and then drive it around all of the fields and the plants grow up. It's brilliant. I love that rejuvenation aspect, getting to an area and completely sorting it out and getting beaten up by a giant piece of bark. So wow, yeah, what a gem from 2021. It's sat there for 4 years now. It should be pulled out, finished, at least played for 10-15 hours. The game is amazing. So devastated we haven't heard much from that studio. I haven't actually dug deep to see whether they've got anything in the pipeline, but I thought this would have been canonized a little bit more, maybe even seen a Switch port. I have just released a video on Shadow of the Colossus, the epic original, and that PlayStation 5 4 version, and of course Armored Core 6 is still getting played religiously. That game has got a grip on me. I have been Couch Crew. I will of course see you down there.